Outcome Expectations and Parental Disciplinary Strategies by Hart, DeWolf, and Burtz, was the most significant in discussing the effects of punishment, specifically the benefits of an inductive approach as opposed to an assertive approach to parental discipline. Now, the aim of this report was to investigate the ways that both power assertive and inductive components may be related to child outcome expectations. The researchers expected that power assertion and induction components of parental discipline relate to child outcome expectation, and as such, that inductive mothers have children who employ pro-social strategies when envisioning positive relationships, while such children are also more likely to behave in a pro-social manner. A further aim of this experiment was to affirm the idea that outcome expectation is related to playground behaviour as well as disciplinary strategies. And the final aim of this research was to determine whether the behaviour of preschoolers and the disciplinary strategies of mothers were mediated by the child's outcome expectation. Now, I believe these aims and hypotheses to be the most relevant to the topic in question is punishment and effective behaviour modification in children. I found this because the questions explore the behaviours of children with the type of punishment and discipline a child receives. And as such, punishment is evaluated in terms of its impact on a child's sociability and thus whether it is actually an effective form of behaviour modification. Now, this experiment required the study of 136 preschool-aged children from 5 different childcare facilities in white middle to upper middle class communities, as well as their respective mothers. The project also included 7 female graduate students who had the role of observing the behaviour of children and mothers, as well as asking both children and mothers various hypothetical questions. Now, with respect to the task of the participants, the mothers of the preschool children were asked to explain in an elicited manner what ways they would react to a certain action of their child, an action that would usually require discipline or some sort of guidance, whether that would be in a punishing form, an assertive form, or a friendly manner, a friendly, more guiding manner. Now, these actions included various hypotheticals relating to the action of a child and a mother's reaction. So one example was a hypothetical situation where a child had potentially stolen an item from a friend or a friend's house, whilst another related to a child pushing over another child in the playground. Now, the hypothetical questions weren't confined to those two, but those were just 2 everyday hypothetical questions that I thought were quite general, but then obviously had a varying reaction by mothers. Now, the children of this research were also asked how they would approach a set of hypothetical situations in order to find a resulting positive outcome. So for this, for example, could include retrieving a ball from a classmate or borrowing a particular item of theirs, and whether or not that child would do it in a assertive, aggressive manner, which might reflect an assertive parent, or would they do it in a friendly, gesturing way, and what they would deem as getting their way in the end, or the best tactic to get their way, or the highest possible outcome. Now, the graduate psychology students would also observe the behaviour of the preschoolers in the classroom and playground over an extended period of time. Now, the key findings suggested that the older children of inductive mothers envisioned that friendly exchanges would result in positive-based outcomes, whilst the children of mothers that employed an assertive discipline believed unfriendly and assertive techniques would help to resolve a conflict. Furthermore, the results also showed that preschoolers of inductive mothers played cooperatively with other children and were more akin to socialise, as opposed to those children with assertive mothers who were less likely to have these attributes. Now, however, the results relating to outcome expectation as a mediational mechanism were quite inconsistent, and as such the conclusion was drawn that outcome expectation does not play a mediational role. And based on these findings, the researchers also concluded that children's behaviours and behavioural expectations stem from the disciplinary actions of their mothers. However, there were some limitations in the methodology of this particular experiment, and this was based on, despite the success of determining the causal relationship between parental approaches to discipline and a child's sociability, the research paper is limited in the sense that it is confined to a social economic status of the middle to upper middle class subjects, of whom were all Caucasian. So obviously, by narrowing the diversity of the subjects in terms of wealth and race, the conclusions cannot be deemed solid across all cultures, nor all demographics, and so therefore we end up with a kind of risky assumption at the end. Although for the most part, well, I guess by confining that to that group of people, you can get a more significant amount of consistent results, as opposed to doing 136 children from an array of different communities and cultures and demographics for that matter. Thank you.